All right, we're here. Let's try to make it count for something. Salutations, my friends. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. I'm your host, Noisera, Freedom Faction, whichever one you prefer. And this is show number 1621, season 16, episode 21. And I have titled this episode, Unhinged Alliances, Hopeless Healthcare, and Dissecting the Phenomena. Yeah, it's kind of wild what's going on right now. We're having like this cool American injection, seeing people come over here for the World Cup. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that. Lots of information regarding this most recent MK Ultra hearing that's taking place right now. And really just an expose of the parasite-like self-assembling nanotechnology structures found in the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Yes, a lot of different things to talk about with you guys when we talk about dissecting the phenomenon. We asked the question of, was General Neil McCaslin working on projected consciousness? Projected consciousness, out-of-body experiences. This is going to be a very information-packed transmission. It's not going to be one you want to miss. Like, there's going to be a lot of heady topics in MK Ultra, pun intended. Not things that are going to scramble your brain, but things that are going to make you look at the world vastly different. Look at yourself different. We'll be talking about Project Serpo, sending soldiers to another planet. CERN actually shut down this week as well, and I think a lot of people are beginning to feel the vibe shift. We'll be talking about all these things and more in this week's information-packed transmission. It's just getting wilder and wilder out there. It's getting wilder. It's getting crazier. There's really no other way to say it. Like, I think what we're beginning to understand is that, not in like a bad, dramatic Hollywood catastrophic type of way, the world that we know, or the world in which we came from, is no longer a place that we can go back to. We can't portal hop there. We can't go there. And the world that is ahead of us is also strange and foreign. And it's going to require a completely different version of ourselves to conquer it, to tame it, to make it make sense. It's like I was hearing somebody talk about how with Star Trek, they told us that, the final frontier is going off into space and going off into the galaxies. That's not it at all. The final frontier is within. That's what disclosure is. That's what we're going to be talking about when we say dissecting the phenomena. That's what's happening right now, is a massive, not necessarily ritual that's taking place. A ritual is not happening, but something is happening to the collective consciousness of the planet that is hard to translate, that is hard to define, that is hard to explain. It's like earlier this week, they released this new LLM, brain to QWERTY, brain to text speeching. It's like I keep telling you, they're trying to hack the fourth dimension, and they are using our brains to do so. Our brains and our bodies are configured to receive some type of extra dimensional transmission that our consciousness rides in on. And that place is some place that exists simultaneously while we're recording the show right now, while you're listening right now. They want to get access to that place because it has otherworldly information. Call it the Akashic Records, call it the fourth dimension, right? You know, we're just seeing that our perception of the world isn't necessarily skewed or ignorant or not necessarily or even fully informed, but we're going through revelation. Wisdom is being poured out on us. We're seeing all these things come out, and it should be changing your worldview. It should be changing how you operate here in this world and what you see yourself doing, what you expect from yourself, what you expect from society as well, right? So it's going to be one of those type of episodes. I'll tell you guys that right now. It's going to be one of those type of transmissions. We've got Anthropic unveiling a new drug discovery program. So now we've got them going into medical and science. We've got an honest ad from Palantir. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that Trump is a traitor working on behalf of Israel. I would have to concur. And we also have Alexander Soros plowing $103 million into the Democrats. That's right, giving them a full injection of new life. And realize that we also already talked about Alexander Soros and his cozy connections with Zoran Mamdani. So it's going to be a very fast-paced transmission. A lot of different things that we're hitting. And I think that's the best way to start segueing into the show. If you guys want to support this operation, the best way to do so is to go to patreon.com/noise, patreon.com/NOIZCE. That is the best way to support us in this current configuration. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you so you beautiful people can see. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to keep us on the air and keep us fighting in attack formation. It's crazy because we're still doing like our not even social media detox thing, but we're taking the break. We're not humping the feeds. We just literally crossed 1,000 followers over on our TikTok, and it's got me thinking a little bit differently about how we operate the show, what we're going to be doing. It's just where we go from here, bro. Like, you know, it's 16 seasons for a reason. We've had to change. And I keep saying configuration because we're halfway through 2026 and it's about to switch up very quickly. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us. I would also recommend that you guys go over to our Substack, substack.com/freedoms. What is it? I'm trying to do it off of memory. You guys are seeing me herper-derp live. Let's do it right now. What is it? It's freedomfaction.substack.com. freedomfaction.substack.com. Let's go ahead and pull that up real quick so the beautiful people can see. That's it. Check it out. We are dropping the intro. And what I like about Substack is it is cutting them up into little segments that get posted onto our YouTube channel. I think that's pretty cool. We're also posting our content from our TikTok over there that also gets cut up and put up on our YouTube. So I'd highly recommend you guys to support our operation over there as well. freedomfaction.substack.com. That's another way that you can support us. Starts off at $7 a month, $77 a year. We have packages and so much more. Like, I'm honestly excited not to be stuck doing news, but instead doing original content and stuff that comes from me, things I'm looking up, things I find interesting, and things I want to just actually say instead of trying to just very quickly interject them into the show. Patreon.com/noise. That's the best way to support us. You can also support us through our Substack, and we'll be doing more content over there. Let me go ahead and get into the typical shill speech, and then we will proceed with the show from there. Just last year in January, we found out that Blog Talk Radio discontinued their services, and we found a replacement with Spreaker. We were able to now simulcast or at least put all of our podcast episodes up on Spreaker, Google, iTunes, iHeart, Radio, Podbean, Spotify, Alexa, Podcast Addict, and every other major podcasting platform. You can find over 500 plus public episodes available to you guys. We've also been able to recover our YouTube channels from 2014, our Noise Era channel, as well as our backup, as you heard me say right there when referring to Substack. We have been uploading the intros of these shows to those platforms to reactivate our dormant audience and reconnect with them. I genuinely get excited seeing your guys' comments on those channels. I'll put the links for both of those, the Noise Era as well as the backup channel, in the description bar so you guys can check it out. You can also find the content that we've done over on Odyssey. That goes back to 2018, if you can believe it. Like we're not new. We're not new. Season 6 of the podcast, you guys can go check it out up over there. Discord, we have been inside of there these past couple of weeks because of some of the crypto work that we have been doing. But we stay out of it. I'll be 1,000% honest with you. Like we stay out of it because they have like all these crazy verification and age things that we're not trying to do. But we have a Discord as well, which you guys can go check out. Come say good morning, good morning. We have 2 Telegrams as well. One that's a backup that we were able to save whenever we got deplatformed a couple years back, and then another one where we just kind of post videos and random things. I wish we'd have more conversation over there. I think I might be Russian. I hang out on Telegram too much. That's where I like to be. We're also posting on Instagram, not as much as we should be. We're posting primarily on TikTok and Substack. There's a reason for that. A bigger audience, man. Like I swear to God, I've been habituated to try to please you guys on Instagram, thinking that that's where I need to be whenever the love is not reciprocated, to be 1,000%. There's just this like weird honor-bound, duty-bound thing with me to where I feel like I need to be over there on Instagram and pay homage to the people that pulled us up whenever it's like the people that pulled us up aren't even there to, help us get back up on our feet. So we're shying away from this like thing of like, oh my God, we got to be on Instagram. Like that's it. That's us no, there's not. There's millions of other people, hundreds of thousands of other people on Twitter, TikTok, Patreon, Substack, and all these other platforms that have active audiences that aren't being censored that we're going to begin to appeal to. Okay. And so that's just where we're going. We're doing the Unfinished Thoughts, which are the continuation of the mini casts that we used to do back in the day. And again, you guys can support us through Rumble, through YouTube memberships, Coffee, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App. All that goodness will be in the description bar below. Speaking on Substack, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick for you guys. We're also going to be doing articles. Okay, this is another reason why I'm very excited to start jumping into Substack. We're going to be taking some of the videos that we've done on TikTok, ripping the transcripts, and then turning them into legible articles over here on Substack, which can be shared and then also turned into subsequent videos, which will be a compilation of other thoughts and things like that. Get over there on Substack. If you're listening to this right now, jump over there to Substack. We're going to be doing more. Jump over there to TikTok. We're going to be doing more. We just crossed 1,000 followers. Not even trying. Not even trying, bro. So we need your guys' support at patreon.com/noise to continue to grow. Patreon.com/NOIZCE. That's the best way to support us, because what's going to end up happening is I'm going to say some random stuff, blow up, and then I'm going to say, oh, well, just don't support us. You didn't know all those times before. Don't do it now. We're over here doing this with these people all of a sudden. Anyway, let's use that as a segue to start jumping into the show. Here is Joe Rogan having his mind blown by one of these AI tech bros talking about some of the strange things they've found in India. Temples, ancient temples, and things like that. Let's go ahead and kick off the show, and then I'll give my commentary on the other side.
Pyramids. Like, there's a lot of speculation as to the timeline of the pyramids, but let's just say they really built it 2,500 BC. Let's just say back then. Mm-hmm. What the fuck were they using? Like, what did you do? How did you get these stones down from the mountains that were 500 miles away?
How about this one?
How about that one?
Yeah.
We were going to get to that for sure. There's a ton. No, what's good as any. How about these temples that they find in India that are carved entirely out of one piece of stone? What did you do? How did you do that? How long ago did this happen? How many of them were buried and then they had to uncover them and like figure out like, what is this? Who made it? There's no timeline. No one really knows. There's no evidence of tools that were capable of doing this kind of work back then. And they're huge and beautiful and perfect. And they have like acoustic properties, and the geometry is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It's nuts,
It's
man.
not just that. All of these temples were actually just built, not just, they were specifically, the locations for them are picked out so that you get the right seismic vibrations over there in terms of like proximity to the ocean, the gravitational waves from the sun and the moon. People actually made that level of like,
Look at this, man. Imagine the undertaking of carving that temple out of the side of a fucking giant piece of rock.
yeah,
You screw up one thing and it's over.
there's no simulations. You just have to like build it.
Well, what did they have? This is the question. Like, imagine today if we had to do this. Look, it's possible. This is a possible endeavor. It can be done.
Yeah.
But imagine what kind of technology would we have to need to map it out, to make sure that it was all precise, that it all aligned. I mean, it's precise within like millimeters from point to point, and everything is done out of one piece of stone. Like, what did they do? Was it chisels? Did you do that with chisels? That's crazy. How many times do you have to sharpen your fucking chisel? That's nuts. Or do you have something completely different? Because some of the more intricate ones, see if you can find these. Some of the crazy ones inside these temples, there's sculptures that are three-dimensional, and they're carved like inside of the sculpture. So there's like an outer area, and then there's all these openings, and then inside it's highly detailed. Like, how'd you even reach in there?
It just says they use chisels and hammers, and I don't think that's possible.
And careful
People have
geometric
tried.
planning.
Geometric
I've
planning.
seen
Yeah.
people trying to do that. They said like this is how much work someone could do in like 12 hours with a hammer, and they get nowhere, let alone like perfect and looking good.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. And there's a lot of evidence of stuff like that all over the world, which is really weird. You have the stuff in Peru, like Sacsayhuaman, when you look at these stones and it looks like they're melted into place, and they're 900 tons. Like, what did you do?
Yeah. How did you even get it up there?
Where'd they get it? How'd you get it there? How'd you align it perfectly? Built in only 18 years. How do they know that? How do they know that? Because it's attributed to one king.
Yeah.
So King Christian I, 756 to 773 CE. Maybe. I mean, how do you know though?
Yeah, they said the archaeologists said they calculated it would take them 100 years to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is where like,
I don't know.
different historian accounts are all like muddled up, in terms-
Well, it's a real problem. History is a real problem.
Yeah, and this is the point. This has always been the point. And this is a lot of the things I find myself doing these days. Like, if you want a good channel to go follow, go look at Lucius Aurelian on YouTube channel. He's like a former history channel, or he's like a former history teacher that talks about alternative history and some of these anomalies that we see throughout time, and it's weird because the more you look into this, you see that we have the technology these days. It's like laser engraving almost, but you have to ask the question, how far back is this in our history to where they had laser engraving to where they could literally fire lasers into rock and engrave or build entire castles? It's like we have 3D printing technology, we have laser engraving technology, we have the ability to reproduce some of this stuff to a smaller degree. But if this is in our time frame when we think we're advanced, how far back does this technology go? It's like I was trying to work on a video and post about it on TikTok where they were talking about burning mirrors and Archimedes, and lasers, directed energy weapons, and ancient technology. This is stuff in our past. We are a race with amnesia. And in this segment where we're talking about weather weapons, MK Ultra, and trafficked children, there's no common thread between any of them. This is just stuff that's popped up in the feed that I kind of want to get out right up off the rip. But I mean, I've been saying this for years, that they're destroying the exterior world and forcing us into their false reality matrix, their metaverse. This is part of the exterior world, the old world. And that's why they're releasing the earthquake weapons. That's why they're releasing the geoengineering, the weather modification, the stratospheric aerosol injections, the super El Ninos. That's why they want to erase the old world order and destroy it and force us into the always online internet world, the metaverse. You see? Yes, no, I thought it was pretty fascinating, though, just hearing Joe Rogan have his mind blown when looking at some of the ancient architecture of our past and how they have been able to cover it up with things like UNESCO's World Heritage Sites and all this other stuff that they're doing to obscure the past. That is something I would definitely recommend people go down into, the cover up of our history, how far back it goes, and what it all means for today, right? And this is why you hear me say, hey, I'm seeing that someplace in like the 1600s, 1700s, we went through like a reset, and we're ending like the 250 years of that cycle, and now we're about to go into a completely new one. I can see the Great Reset because I've researched previous resets. Moving forward, scientists admit plan to control hurricanes. A new study published in the journal PLOS Water on June 24th proposes using advanced cloud seeding techniques enhanced by real-time data and artificial intelligence as a potential method to nudge or divert powerful weather systems like hurricanes away from vulnerable areas. The research suggests that the humanity stands on the brink of influencing extreme weather events in ways that could significantly reduce their devastating impacts on populated regions. This comes from End Times headline. They put this up June 27th. It says, as the frequency and severity of such disasters grow, the study's authors argue that conventional defenses may no longer suffice. Quote, the growing impact of weather extremes on society highlights the traditional approaches, such as dams, levees, and insurance alone, may not be sufficient to address the widespread consequences of these hazards, the authors state. Researchers detailed how precisely timed small-scale cloud seeding operations conducted days in advance might have altered the paths and intensities of notable past events. For instance, they claim such interventions could have shifted Superstorm Sandy in 2012 by approximately 300 miles, sparing New York City from a direct hit. Similar approaches, they suggest, might have raised temperatures during the 2021 Texas freeze by about 18 degrees Fahrenheit or lessened precipitation from a 2022 California atmospheric river by roughly 5%. The concept draws on the martial art of jiu-jitsu as an analogy of applying minimal force with maximum strategic effect. Study co-author Upamanu Lal of Arizona State University explained the philosophy behind the proposal. That's crazy. That's crazy. They've applied a martial arts style science to a martial arts style physics to their science and how they're going to control the weather. I'm just blown away that they're admitting that they want to control the weather. And at the same time, we've talked about this in the past and how this was always going to be the eventual goal, is to make people actually call for weather modification as a good thing, because they've altered the terrain and the environment so much to where, oh my gosh, we notice it, get RFK Jr. in there, have him stop it. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with everything? We need to bring cloud seeding and weather modification back. You see how that works? And that's exactly what's going on right now. Not just a, quote, super El Nino or record-setting worldwide ocean heat wave is causing insane weather chaos all over the globe. This is honestly one of the segments where we could have introed with the world of science, and it would have been just a breakdown of everything that's going on right now. The super El Nino, heat waves, rising water temperatures, and things like this. You see. But we're talking about this because when we switch up and start talking about, very briefly, Venezuela, and apparently rumors that the Clinton Foundation is down there as well. Hillary Clinton's down there in Venezuela kidnapping children. You have to think about this because, again, how many anomalous weather events or disastrous environmental catastrophes that we covered last year that we're still talking about this year, to where families have been displaced, children have been displaced. These charities come in, right? Talking about peace and safety, and they do nothing but destruction. You see. And so it's a threefold thing. I think there's just so many different ways to look at everything that's going on in the world these days. Because just the other week we were talking about, underground weapons, deep underground military bases, earthquake weapons. This ties into the environment, Venezuela, and how they have deep underground military bases, how they're just destroying everything and running underground. This is a part of it too. You think the kidnapping of kids stopped just because Donald Trump got in the office? Do you think just because we shut down the border, these vampires still didn't need their daily amount of blood from children? It's still going on. It's if anything, it's been kicked into hyperdrive. And so that's what you're seeing: anomalous weather, disastrous events, cover-ups. Let's read a little bit of this and then we'll go ahead and move forward. We don't want to spend too much time on this. We want to talk more about what's coming up next. It says that the oceans on our planet have never been this hot, and this is causing explosive weather throughout the world. Record high temperatures are being set all over the northern hemisphere. We are witnessing absolutely crazy storms, and gigantic wildfires are erupting at a blistering pace. We've never experienced anything quite like this before, and it is going to be very difficult for farmers to grow crops in these unpredictable conditions. It feels like we are living through a Hollywood disaster movie. But of course, what we have been through so far is only just the beginning. A lot of people are blaming the crazy weather on the, quote, super El Nino that began a few weeks ago. But it isn't just super El Nino that we're facing. According to Google, an El Nino occurs as a result of warmer surface temperatures in the equatorial waters of the Pacific Ocean. And it says that in 2026, we have certainly seen extreme weather surface temperatures in the equatorial waters of the Pacific Ocean, but that is just part of the story. Right now, we are actually experiencing a worldwide ocean heat wave. In fact, last month, ocean surface temperatures reached the highest level ever recorded. This is very alarming news. According to the Copernicus Marine Service, the average ocean surface temperature actually reached a level of 20.98 degrees Celsius. Michael Steiner is particularly concerned about the massive heat wave that we are witnessing in the Northern Pacific. On beaches all along the West Coast, the consequences of this heat wave are clearly visible. What's crazy is, I know they're talking about the West Coast, but I was seeing something over on the East Coast in Carolina at Myrtle Beach, to where they were just like, I don't know, they're like shutting down the beach. They had these like caterpillar sand movers, it's like caterpillar diggers. They were just out there on the beach, basically making like a wall or some type of divider between the ocean and the beach. They kicked off all the beachgoers. They said, hey, get out of here. Something's coming in from the ocean. And they just started shoring stuff up. It was really, really crazy. I didn't put it into this week's video. Well, I don't think it has to do with this heat wave, but it's just really strange. But it says, within minutes of walking on the San Diego beach, marine ornithologist Tammy Russell found the feathered carcasses one after another. Some were mixed in with washed up kelp. Others were under rocks. Each month, scientists and volunteers conduct surveys of dead seabirds and find what Russell describes as a grim assessment of the impact of a massive marine heat wave that has lingered for months off parts of the California coast. It says the reason why so many seabirds are starving to death is because the little sea critters that they normally eat are being wiped out by the heat wave. What we have been witnessing in recent weeks is absolutely insane. It all started on June 17th with the Memorandum of Understanding being signed. That was the day when Tropical Storm Arthur formed, and that was the day when Tropical Storm Arthur made landfall. It devastated communities all the way from Texas to the East Coast. It said, according to AccuWeather, it is being estimated that it caused about $4 to $6 billion in damage. Oof. I think you guys get the picture from there. There is all kinds of environmental devastation occurring in live time. And we would never be the wiser. It's like I think about East Palestine, I think about Maui, Lahaina. I think about Pennsylvania. I think about all of these different places that we have just seen nothing but environmental devastation over the years. And this ties into, again, what I just keep reiterating, the fact that they have or are in the process of destroying and wrecking the exterior world, the old world. They want to further our amnesia. They want to destroy all of this and put us inside of this metaverse thing that these people are creating. Moving forward, still talking about the effects of weather weapons. Venezuela kicks out Clinton Foundation for trafficking children amid earthquake chaos. This comes from Baxter Dimitri from the People's Voice. They put this up July 1st. It says the Clinton Foundation teams are on the ground in the earthquake-ravaged Venezuela. And shocking reports from Caracas reveal their staff have been caught kidnapping children in the disaster zone and attempting to move them across borders without documentation. Kidnapping, trafficking, right in the chaos. These reports describe the Clinton Foundation as a drug-dealing, child trafficking, money laundering syndicate, zeroing in on vulnerable children in the chaos caused by natural disasters. They fly around in helicopters filled with cash, drugs, weapons, and they operate above the law because they are protected by compromised officials who share the same dark vices. But in Venezuela, the backlash has been seismic. Vigilante justice against international child traffickers is already exploding on the streets, brutal and unforgiving. Sound familiar? Remember the earthquake in Haiti in 2010? It was the exact same playbook of the Clinton Foundation associates moving children across borders and directly into elite trafficking pipelines. Shocking reports out of Venezuela are emerging. In the aftermath of the twin earthquakes that devastated Caracas, children are being pulled from the rubble and taken to hospitals without their parents before vanishing into the dark world of child trafficking. Looks like there's a tweet right here. There sure is. It's called the Clinton Foundation. Despite furious local opposition, they have operatives on the ground in Caracas as we speak, prowling the streets for children who have been lost in the chaos and separated from their parents. And the tweet right here says that CGI Clinton Global Initiative partners are responding in Venezuela after two devastating earthquakes struck. The country is still trying to get an accurate scope of the full damage done. Yes, that same Clinton Global Initiative was funded by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The same Clinton Foundation that was exposed to trafficking children via Clinton Global Initiative partners in Haiti in 2010, following their own devastating earthquakes. It's almost as though they have a playbook for these disasters. Yeah, remember? They used to say it, never let a good crisis go to waste. You guys remember that? Never let a good crisis go to waste. And I would say that this is a crisis. Looks like we have another video here talking about the Clintons down there in Venezuela. Let's watch the clip and then we'll jump back into this topic afterwards.
For thousands of Venezuela's children, the earthquake is not over. The most dangerous part is just beginning. According to UNICEF, 3.9 million children live in the areas the earthquake hit. In the chaos, thousands have already been separated from their families, and these separated kids are at risk of being taken and exploited unless they are found and reunited with family members fast. I've already been getting videos in the dead of night about this because there is a known trafficking ring in Venezuela. For thousands of Venezuela's children, the earthquake is not over. The most dangerous.
That's crazy that they would immediately go to thinking that it was the Clintons or knowing that it was the Clintons. Knowing that in one way, shape, and form, they were somehow involved. Let me read this quick article, finish up over here, and then we'll move forward to talking about MK Ultra. Because in a weird way, I said earlier that there's no connection, but it's like, where do you think they get the test subjects for the MK Ultra trials? If they have a playbook, they must have inherited the game from somebody else. You see? So there's not a public connection, but it's looking a little sus. Looking ain't little sus. Give me 1 second. It says, yeah, it's looking very, very sus. Clinton associate Laura Silsby was arrested for taking 33 Haitian children across the border to the Dominican Republic with false documentation. Despite Silsby's claims, most of the children were not orphans. Any doubts she was working for the Clintons were dismissed when former President Bill Clinton appointed a lawyer to get her off of the charges, a lawyer who had a long history of child trafficking himself. It's hard to tell if they think that we are stupid or if they're just mocking us. Shortly after Silsby was released, Bill Clinton's personal friend and pastor was arrested for raping Haitian children he adopted after the earthquake. It says, meanwhile, in Venezuela, they're using the same playbook that they used in Haiti to kidnap vulnerable children during the chaos of a natural disaster and smuggle them across borders, changing their names, false documents, and a quick getaway into the big worldwide world of elite pedophilia, where children without documents are sold to the highest bidder and discarded as trash when they are no longer useful. Now you see, this is the stuff that I looked into whenever I was coming up. This is the type of stuff that that we paid attention to back in the day. This is why we don't like the Hillary Clintons. You see, the Hillary Clintons, the Bill Clintons, all this type of stuff, because it's a type of people, it's a spirit. You see, it's like I remember, the work of now deceased Ted Gunderson, former head of the, I think it's like FBI, either FBI or CIA. I'm pretty sure it's FBI, California division. And I remember him talking about back in the day. You could probably still find some of these interviews where he was doing some of his investigations, and he was finding people, kids specifically, with tunnels underneath the schools and children being taken. And I thought at the time that was so fantastical, it can't be true. And then I just had to wait for all this information to come out, the depths of the trafficking. So for this to come out immediately, as if they do have a playbook, I would not be surprised. There were talks about the UN, the Blue Helmets, and the people back in the day that used to do this type of stuff. They would go into disaster-ridden areas, traffic the children, and dispose of them whenever they were done. This is what satanic ritual abuse is. This is what child trafficking is. This is what child sex trafficking is. This is that whole dark component. That's why when we talk about deep underground military bases, where do you think they have to take the children? Where do you think they could? What do you think they do in these bases? What was Jeffrey Epstein involved in? They all flock together. And what's crazy too, we'll talk more about this later on the show. We've got somebody that did like a little expose of Luis Elizondo and his connections with Satanism. And it's weird because we keep getting this thread of Satanism, of occultism, associated with the paranormal aspects of our government. So there's just a lot of crazy things going on, my friends. And for the internet or for the entire world to point out the fact that this is something the Clintons have done in the past, and it might be something that they're doing right now, it just shows you that the people are awake. We're done. We're sick and we're tired, and these people need to be exposed. Here is Tim Burchett saying the very same thing.
Some stuff. Woke up. Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I woke up this morning thinking about some stuff, and this stuff kind of makes me angry. I hear people saying, "No, they're trafficking." Well, we got to get that straight. They're pimps, and when they say trafficking young kids for across state lines for sex with adults, no, they're not. They're selling these kids to get raped. I think we try to sanitize stuff. In Hollywood, shows the pimp and dressed in the fine clothes and the nice car and talking tough and all that, and that's all these people are. They're awful, demonic people, and they deserve to burn in hell. And people say, "Oh, Burchett, you don't want to hang those people." The hell I don't. Bring them out to the farm. We'll take care of them. And I am not kidding you. We've got to start taking this stuff serious in this country, folks. And you know, the way the left and I guess we all are guilty of it. We try to sanitize it so it doesn't affect our psyche or our conscience. But this stuff's going on right now. It's going on in your community. It's going on in my community. We need to pay attention, and we need to start enforcing our dadgum laws and quit electing these gutless wimps and putting these judges in that let these people walk, and quit with all the being able to get out of these things, and they get probation and all this other stuff. All they're going to do is offend again. And the people that are buying these kids to rape are just as guilty or worse than the others. End them all. That's what we've got to do. There's
End them all.
Nothing redeemable about these people. Anyway, folks, pray for our country. Pray for all those little kids out there that are lost in this horrible system. We lost over 300,000 during the Biden administration. Thank God for President Trump and Homan. They found, I think, 145,000 of them so far. And that's not in the press. Should be. Shame on the media. Anyway, pray for our country. Thank y'all for sending me here.
Appreciate you taking the time, Tim. Yeah, that's what this stuff does to you, man. When you start looking at it, you start just getting like sick. But then at the same time, you understand that God is real and that he's put you on this path to look at this type of information, to bring awareness to what's actually going on, to save the children, to save the future, to fight for the future. He's right. He's absolutely right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I know when I started supporting President Donald Trump, it was because of just that right there. We're shutting down the border, which means we're going to stop this child sex trafficking, which means we're going to save lives, right? Right? We're going to save the kids, right? That was the thought process. And then it became something else entirely. But no, it is a deep and dark history when you look into child sex trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, human trafficking or anything of that nature. And that's why it's always been a component of the show when we talk about this type of stuff. This is why we had on years ago Dr. John A. King, former military vet, talking about rescuing children and to catch a predator. It's because this is a whole sickness that's infested the country, that's infected the world. It is a pedophilic world order, and it's a way that they can compromise people. It's sick. It's sick and demonic. And the darker the deeper into that rabbit hole you go into, the darker it gets. And that's why I tell you, that's exactly what it is: satanic ritual abuse. People murdering these children because they want to extract the innocence from them. They are literal vampires, And then there's a whole nother class of these people who don't even see people as people and see them as just as real NPCs, that they don't have a soul. And so we are really dealing with psychopaths, megalomaniacs, technocrats, satanic scientists, occult technicians, and Luciferian engineers. We're dealing with people that are messed up in more ways than one. Appreciate the report, Tim. Let's go ahead and move forward with the show. Check this out. Congress confronts MK Ultra. Testimony warns of ongoing CIA mind control capabilities. This comes from Steve Watson of Modernity News and got picked up by Zero Hedge June 30th. It says that the deep state's favorite tools of control just got dragged back into the light. Today, the House Oversight Committee's task force on the declassification of federal secrets held the first congressional hearing on the CIA's MK Ultra program since 1977. It said what could have been a dusty historical review turned into a direct warning that the same machinery of mind control, memory manipulation, and behavioral experimentation may have never shut down and could now run on a far more powerful modern engine. Representative Anna Paulina Luna and her colleagues are doing what previous Congresses largely refused to do, forcing sunlight on one of the intelligence community's darkest chapters.
There will be a hearing focusing on one of the CIA's most notorious and secretive projects, The MK Ultra program was run throughout the Cold War, and the CIA used the project to drug unwilling participants with LSD, experiments with truth serums, mind control methods, you name it. News Nation national correspondent Xavier Walton joins me live now with more on this. I mean, Xavier, there's a lot to unpack here. Do lawmakers expect to get anything concrete from this today?
Well, that's a great question. I'd say some are optimistic while others are pessimistic. You know how it goes. But either way, congressional lawmakers, they are going to at least expect to, hear answers into the CIA's use of mind control tactics from 1953 to 1973. The story is just so wild. It actually inspired a movie and TV series. Project MK Ultra was an illegal research experiment implemented by the CIA after the U.S. feared China and the Soviet Union were using brainwashing tactics to manipulate prisoners. It allegedly included intense electroshock therapy, hypnosis, isolation, and experiments, as you mentioned, with drugs like LSD. So the CIA also criticized for who they experiment on, right? Often inmates, psychiatric patients, or even terminally ill patients as well without their consent. The House Oversight Committee is hoping to get some answers at this upcoming hearing. The committee's chairwoman, Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna, writing the intelligence community has covered up the nature and classification of the MK Ultra experiments for decades. Americans have been misdirected repeatedly and deserve transparency as well as accountability from the CIA. So the CIA eventually ended Project MK Ultra after, determining mind control could not be achieved, destroyed a lot of the documents related to this entire program. But many, including these lawmakers, hoping to get some answers.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We know that the CIA loves to investigate itself and find that there's no actual wrongdoing. So we'll see how we will see how Anna Paulina Luna handles this. Yeah, no, I think people have been able. MK Ultra is such a massive topic that it opens up, Project Paperclip, the importation of the Nazis. What is psychology? What is parapsychology? Some of the strange supernatural things they found, subaltered personalities, right? I remember whenever Russ Dizdar, God bless his soul, was still alive, he wrote that book, The Black Awakening, The Rise of the Satanic Super Soldier, and that scared the ever-living bejesus out of me, that you could have people that were MK Ultra that had gone through some type of mind control program, essentially had their brain scrambled to such a degree that they lost touch with who they were, and you could have personalities programmed inside of people. Then you start getting into things like the sex kitten personality, the assassin personality, and then every single one of these different type of personalities, they have like a different language, a different way in which they communicate, and it's a fascinating and horrifying rabbit hole to go down because it brings into question the mind, consciousness, is it local, demons, and again, just parapsychology and so much more. And so, again, I don't know if we'll get the full story, right? I really like what Anna Paulina Luna is doing regarding disclosure and MK Ultra, but I think that we will only be able to scratch the surface of what this stuff is. And if they're willing to disclose it now, clearly the next question is well, what do they have that they're not telling us about? If they're willing to tell us about UFOs, the nuts and bolts, if they're willing to talk to us about MK Ultra, mind control experiments and things like this, what else are they doing? You see. Expert witness tells Congress that Jack Ruby and Charles Manson were MK Ultra assets linked to CIA psyops. Another one by Baxter Dimitri from the People's Voice. They put this one up June 30th. It says that expert witnesses stunned a congressional hearing Tuesday by testifying that Jack Ruby and Charles Manson were, quote, MK Ultra assets, injecting fresh controversy into the decades-old debate over the CIA's infamous mind control program. Explosive claims emerged during a House hearing examining the CIA's Cold War-era behavioral modification program, which has long been shrouded in secrecy, despite decades of declassified records confirming the agency conducted unethical human experimentation involving LSD, hypnosis, and other psychological techniques. The testimony immediately drew drew attention from Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who announced that she would press the CIA to release any remaining MKUltra records.
Is it in your expert opinion that Jack Ruby and Manson were assets of the intelligence agencies specifically pertaining to MKUltra? Were they MKUltra victims?
Yeah, theoretically, Manson, I've never been able to prove absolutely. Jack Ruby, I believe, this is something else. The Warren Commission investigation, on the Warren Commission was Alan Dulles, the former CIA director, who authorized and ran MKUltra until he was fired by President Kennedy. The liaison to the committee for the CIA, who handled the information coming from the CIA back and forth to the Warren Commission, was Richard Helms, who was a direct supervisor of Jolly West. They knew who West was. They knew that what West was capable of and what they had paid him to do and what he had reported to them that he could do, including inducing mental disorders in people. That was never disclosed to the commission as far as anyone knows. So I believe that West was put in there to keep Jack Ruby from telling his story.
Wow. In closing, I just want to thank you all for being here today. And we will be following up, Dr. Kinzer, on your request to fully redact. I'll be following personally with the director of the CIA, the MKUltra files that we do have. Also, as I noted earlier, there will be more that will be declassified, specifically pertaining to newly found records that were located in what we were discussing earlier. I did also want to just state that for the record, in regards to what statements were made earlier regarding the German government, we will also be following up on that. If there are indeed people that were victims of this that have been buried, we would like to know who those people are and who their families are as well, in order to correct the historical wrongdoings of this government. Without further ado, I would like to state that all members have 5 legislative days within to submit materials and additional written questions for the witnesses that will be then forwarded to them. If there are no further business without objection, the task force stands adjourned.
Yeah, we've got more on this coming up for sure. But I heard a very interesting theory somewhere that Anna Paulina Luna might be like an MKUltra victim herself, and that that's not her real name, Anna Paulina Luna, that she was somebody else completely different before she got into Congress. And so that might be a rabbit hole that we go down later. Maybe not in this particular episode, but later on in the season as it comes out. And the reason I say that is because you can look at people like Candace Owens and Erica Kirk, and you can tell that there's some type of form of MKUltra. There's something going on there, right? And the reason I bring up not necessarily these influencers or these celebrities or these people of interest is because there's mind control, social engineering, behavioral modification has become neuro-linguistic programming, has become hypnosis, has become so sophisticated these days, people do not know what they are up against. And between the flicker rates on our phone, the way they are able to subtly suggest things, the mind control is so much more sophisticated. They do not need to give you drugs. Guess what? You'll go smoke them yourself and make yourself suggestible. They don't need to blow scopolamine in your face to make you, hypnotic. You'll go snort it in your brain. And so what I'm trying to tell you is something has happened to society and to humanity to where mind control is much more widespread and global than we think. And they can have targeted individuals, right? They can have MKUltra, Manchurian and candidate individuals who have subaltern personalities that can get activated using trigger words and things like this. Okay, like this is not far-fetched. It's much more sophisticated than we think these days. Jumping back in the article, it says that the assertions are among the most provocative made during the hearing. While MKUltra itself is an established historical program, no publicly released CIA documents have conclusively demonstrated that either Ruby or Manson served as MKUltra assets. Researchers have debated both figures for decades. Yeah, this isn't what we're here to talk about, Jack Ruby or Charles Manson, but they are an example, again, of the historical use of MKUltra, where you can create patsies, you can create unwitting or even unknowing slaves, right? People that are willing to carry out these things, hitmen, assassins, things like that. Here is Kevin Shipp over here on Redacted talking about the demonic connections to the CIA.
There's a principality to talk about in terms of demonic operation and occult operation. It would be the CIA.
Whether it's real or not, we know that when Lansdale went to the Philippines and was running the operation, it wasn't against the hooks, and during the war against the hooks in the Philippines, they were drawing upon lore about vampires, and they were basically like killing guys and hanging them upside down and making them look like they'd been drained of blood by vampires. So when you're into the area of intelligence, you're very hip to the lore and to like the traditions of witchcraft and stuff. So of course there might be an aspect of, we're playing games here, we're making people believe this is witchcraft. There's certainly an aspect of that, but I think it also starts to fall into that blurry place where you actually start to dabble in it as well, start to utilize it because you realize it can be effective.
It's like, where do the lines become blurry? You're pulling in this nefarious statecraft, but it's coming from somewhere, right?
And having been out in the field and collecting intelligence and lying and cheating and stealing, and I haven't recovered, by the way, but there is no such thing as James Bond. Well, I've been out there with case officers and I've been out there collecting, and they're some of the darkest people. There are a couple of very good ones, but some of them, including chief of stations, are some of the darkest people that I had ever met, out with prostitutes every night and just moral vacuum. It's the upper 80% that get into these things that Sean is talking about that are deeply dark and demonic. And you can see the fact patterns, and you can see the fruit of the CI and the things that it has done. We've only seen the tip of the iceberg with MK Ultra, mind control, torture, and all the horrific things the CI has done and is still doing under the cloak and power of this unbridled secrecy. So if there was a principality to talk about in terms of demonic operation and occult operation, it would be the CIA. When I made my decision finally to come out and blow the whistle on what that organization really is, there's a verse that stood out to me, and this is just me personally, but once again in Ephesians it says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them, for it is a shame to even speak of those things which are done of them in secret. And that's how the CIA functions in this dark realm, is through plausible deniability and this unbridled power of secrecy, which it uses to manipulate Congress through fear, threat of prison if they leak information, and it's manipulating elected government that way. So it is a demonic organization.
Imagine coming out of the CIA and thinking you need to go get baptized. Imagine thinking you're coming out of a government institution and you're like, I need to get clean. I need to get recovered. I need to get baptized. I need to get closer to God. I need to get away from the lying, the cheating, the whore, and the stealing. This is the CIA he's talking about, mind you. And what's wild is as he was talking, I just found myself looking up Project MK often, because that's another thing that I'd refer people to look into, where you have the CIA, because it's an offshoot of MK Ultra, getting involved in drugs, getting involved in the occult. So whenever you've got, this individual talking about the CIA being involved in dark, demonic elements, occult things, this is a long-standing history. And yeah, they do start dabbling in it. That's what MK often was. That's why when we look at, people like Jack Parsons, Aleister Crowley, not Rudolf Steiner, who am I thinking of? Werner von Braun. All of these people that are involved in like the sciences, they're also involved in the occult. They just started observing the stuff, probing things, messing with things, and the other side began to mess back. And they had prolonged and continued conversations with the other side. This did not stop. It may have stopped publicly. They may have stopped public funding, but realize we're in a time frame where people are openly talking about the deep state, breakaway civilizations, black budget projects, and things like that. It's like, go look, it is a vast topic when you start talking about the CIA and some of the dark occulted things they're doing, but just for the sake of continuity, we're talking about MK Ultra. And there is dark and occult elements associated with the MK Ultra. That's why I referenced the work of Russ Dizdar and the Black Awakening, the rise of the satanic super soldier. You see. Let's proceed forward. Here is another testimony at the MK Ultra hearings talking about Charlie Kirk programming people through radio waves and other things associated with MK Ultra.
Possibilities that that what we've learned in MK Ultra, now that it has advanced so much to algorithms and the computer and getting to loners, that some of these loners could, through this just mass propagation of whatever you're doing, could cause someone to maybe take a shot at a president.
I know there's a lot of speculation out there about the Butler shooting, and I guess even the Charlie Kirk shooting. I just hate to speculate because I don't know. I have no firsthand knowledge whether those guys were programmed through radio waves or through their computer activity. So I would never hazard a guess, except to say what I've already said, that they developed means that we've never been told about many, many years ago, and I imagine they've evolved to be much more effective now. So
let me
anything's
interrupt
possible.
you one more time, and I apologize again. But don't you think that they could cast this broad net through these algorithms and other things, and maybe they don't know the exact person it's going to affect, but they know what type of person it's going to affect, and they know it's going to happen, and that way they can't predict when it's going to happen, but they think it will happen, and then that way they can sort of wash their hands of this whole thing and say, well, we didn't have anything to do with it, but in effect they really did, because they put this out there and they continue to put it out there through whatever method you're talking about. Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. Ma'am, if you want to jump in.
She's with NIH.
Okay. Doctor, go ahead.
It sounds to me like you're describing something like the Martin Luther King assassination. The FBI didn't carry it out, but it created such a climate just denouncing King as the most dangerous man in America and putting out all this material about how he was helping communists, that they must have thought it's going to filter down. Somebody will take action, and then we can say we didn't have anything to do with it.
And James Earl Ray was a third-rate thief. He made an incredible shot, 1 foot on a commode, 1 foot in a bathtub, leaning out of a window, basically. And the next day, or that afternoon, all the shrubbery was cut in front of the flop house he was staying in. There's a lot on that one that will never be discussed. I have some friends that were there, so I guess I'm on pretty close to firsthand knowledge. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to get audited when I walk out of the room. I know it. So thank you. Chair Lady, I yield back my 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's like they knew he was going to go to a flop house and they cut out the area where he was going to be hanging out. And so what they're talking about is the social engineering and how that goes hand in hand with the mind control, as they described, creating an environment to where they could encourage somebody to do it. And then just so happened that the person that did it, they actually had a whole little patsy type situation. So the point we're trying to make here is MK Ultra, mind control, directed energy weapons, remotely programming individuals. This is something that's been going on for quite some time. And that's why I just immediately have to say, what do you think they have access to today? If we're having public hearings about MK Ultra, drugging people up with LSD, right? What is at these people's disposal today? And we know what they have. And we also don't know what they have. We know they're controlling us through a degree, through the flicker rates on our phone, the propaganda on your social media feeds, the dumbing down of our education system, the poisoning us with medications and things of this nature. But what else? It's like I remember a few years ago, we used to have patents on our Instagram page that talked about the remote mind control and how they were able to set up towers and lock on to basically your bioetheric field and hack you. So this isn't MK Ultra. This is just remote mind control using directed energy weapons and things of this nature. It is so much more sophisticated than we think. You see. Here is somebody else at the hearings talking about the reality of MK Ultra.
There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things, especially on the low duration, the low intensity, long duration hits.
Are either of you aware of any individuals who have AHI symptoms have passed away from their ailments?
Oh, This is not related to the MK Ultra. This is related to the directed energy weapons, or the Havana syndrome hearings that took place a couple years ago. So not necessarily direct mind control. This is remote mind control and remote behavior modification, but it's still of the same vein.
I do.
I do.
Have any of you three panelists ever seen one of these weapons?
I have seen a 1991 version of the weapon, and it looks like a satellite dish with a unit this size attached to it. And of course, over the years, miniaturization has been possible. Obviously, there's a limitation to how miniaturized it can be because of the antenna size, which is always related to the wave. But still, it is something that can be well contained in the trunk of a car or even a large backpack.
Yeah, it's not just space-based weapons, right? It's not just space-based weapons. And I think that's also what I was trying to allude to with the remote mind control comment, the fact that they can set up antennas. That's one of the reasons why we're so against 5G and them putting up all these towers all over the place, is because it's just a direct way for them to just zap you and blast you, right? But here is Anapolina Luna talking about MK Ultra and Operation Paperclip.
Operation Paperclip brought over 1,600 German scientists into the United States government after World War II, including individuals who had conducted human experimentation in concentration camps. The CIA and military were aware of their backgrounds and recruited them anyways. In your research, did you find direct documentation between Paperclip scientists and the development of MK Ultra's experimental protocols, specifically the use of mescaline, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, which were techniques also documented at Dachau?
Absolutely. Kurt Blome, who was the chief of biological weapons development for the Nazi government, came to work for the CIA. So did Walter Schreiber, who was the Surgeon General of the Nazi army. I can just tell a brief story. When I was researching my book, I found what I think might be the first secret CIA prison or black site. It's a nice chalet in Germany. And the guy who now owns it took me into the basement. He said these were the cells where the MK Ultra officers, working side by side with Nazis, carried out those gruesome experiments, which were actually just continuations of the experiments that those Nazis had been conducting just a few years earlier, right down the road.
Just for timeline and clarification, these experiments were happening after the Nuremberg trials, correct? So the CIA would have known that these were crimes against humanity.
I looked for an episode in which the Nuremberg doctrines were posted on the wall in some MK Ultra or CIA office, and I was never able to find any indication that those Nuremberg principles ever were even consulted, much less obeyed.
Thank you.
Yeah, for some reason we're getting really glitchy on these key videos, but I'm so glad they pointed out the Nazi connection associated with MK Ultra and things like that, because that ties into, again, the work of Russ Dizdar, the subalter personalities, and the Twilight language is like what he described. Whenever he was coming into contact with some of these people who had been ritualistically programmed, they were able to speak like High German, like a lost German dialect. The Twilight language is like how he had described it. And when they're talking about like the American MK Ultra officers working with the Nazi officers and how the Nazis were just continuing like a practice from back then, it's because it was a cult. It was them basically calling in different spirits and different entities, right? The same way that I had talked about there being like a sex kitten program, the same way I talked about there being an assassin program, there's also like an occult invocation summoner type program that gets embedded in these MK Ultra individuals. And that's how these spirits, so to speak, are able to use these people, because they get them to admit to bringing the spirits in. I don't know how else to describe it, riffing off of this, but Dr. Kinzer is exactly correct. It is a continuation of what the Nazis were doing. And they themselves too admitted that they did not come up with some of these ideas themselves, that they had help. Werner von Braun talked about that when asked, like, hey, where did you come up with the science for rockets and things like this? How did you guys do this? You guys were coming out with amazing technology. He said, we didn't do it ourselves. We had help. And he's alluding to the fact that they had paranormal, supernatural, extra-dimensional, not extraterrestrial help, but occult help. They were communing with the other side. That's where the Vril Society comes in. And that's where all this occult stuff comes in. That's what they're not talking about with these MK Ultra hearings. There is for sure an occult component associated with it. Yeah, for sure. They're doing mind control experiments. They're still conducting mind control experiments. What do you think drag queen story time is? 2 men can have a baby. They're still mind controlling you right now. And they're still social engineering things with Donald Trump. But it's so much more sophisticated because now you go along with it. Now they've eroded our mindset to where we don't think that we have free will. We are taught to obey. And this brings in like a whole separate conversation of society and where we're at and everything that comes with that. But again, this is just the intro and the honorable mentions of the show. We have so much more to get into throughout this entire transmission. And for the final clip for this segment, before we hit a hard break, it's of a post from Anna Paulina Luna's Twitter, where she talks about MK Ultra being a very dark chapter of American history. This testimony from our witnesses yesterday was shocking. We're going to go ahead and play this quick clip, and then we'll hit a hard break right after that. Again, this is just the intro and the honorable mentions of the show, talking about weather weapons, MK Ultra, and trafficked children.
When it did end, the men who ran it did not cooperate with investigators. They did not come forward. They committed another crime. They destroyed evidence.
MK Ultra was a top secret illegal experimentation program run by the CIA from 1953 to 1973. It was designed to develop mind control techniques, brainwashing procedures, and truth serums used for espionage, interrogation, and psychological torture.
I do believe that the government should compensate victims and their families, specifically pertaining to this awful program. We also heard that there was horrifying experimentation taking place at juvenile detention facilities on American wayward children.
Speaking with the National News Desk Tuesday, Luna adding she believes there needs to be a task force put together, possibly by the DOJ, noting they were just made aware of a CIA house in Germany that allegedly tortured victims of MK Ultra.
So we're actually reaching out to the German government. I actually have, coincidentally enough, meetings tomorrow with some members of their parliament to see if we can basically send out law enforcement to see if we're able to locate remains and identify the people potentially that were hurt by this program.
Now, among those testifying, investigative journalist Tom O'Neill, sharing that historical records show previous investigators and lawmakers 50 years ago were allegedly intentionally denied the truth regarding the program.
Representatives of the CIA told Congress and the American people that its 25-year effort to control human behavior had been a colossal failure. I believe Congress was never told the truth about what this program actually achieved.
Meanwhile, Luna argues, according to witness testimony, it looks like those participating in the program were able to effectively crack the code on programming humans, which makes their job to identify and correct historical records pivotal.
But also, to ensure that this never happens again, we have to be able to identify it currently and how it's evolved potentially, which is what we're trying to do currently.
Now, according to Luna, MK Ultra was comprised of at least 149 sub-projects operating across 80 institutions and involved 185 non-government researchers. It allegedly includes a $375,000 CIA contribution to a hospital research wing so the agency would use unaware patients as experimental subjects. Reporting for the National News.
The young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, half of this cabinet, are actually young noble leaders of the world economic forum. We penetrate the cabinets. The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? Take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
The next crisis is already waiting for us around the corner, and it is the climate crisis.
Just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable. We're going to be tested to the limits. What they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order. They're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse.
There is no such thing as its freedom. There is no such thing as democracy. Please stop listening to the mainstream media. Please stop listening to the Western world speaking about United Nations, human rights. This is evil. Nonsense. They have enslaved the human race under the banner of human rights. I beg you, they have enslaved the human being under the banner of human rights. There is no freedom in the world. The world is placed in the bosom of Satan, the killer of mankind. A snake, the poisonous cobra. Satan likes to do things in disguise, in quietness, in the depth. But the Lord forced him to surface up. He wants humanity to see. He's opening the eyes of those who are willing to listen to Christ. Those who are willing to listen to Christ, He is opening your eyes. What has been happening in recent years, it is absolute satanic. But all done in the name of human rights, democracy, United Nation.